So it's Friday, July 24th, 2020. It's time for a nice little Instagram Live Q&A. I see that the UK is opening up gyms in the next day or so. Best way for carb cycling. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of carb cycling, but if you are going to do carb cycling, so just a quick explanation as to what carb cycling is. It's where you have a higher carb day followed by a lower carb day. So if you are going to do carb cycling, one of the easiest ways to do it is on a day where you're going to be doing a higher volume workout or just a brutal workout like legs, for example, and you're really trashing yourself, do a higher carb day on that day. And then on the next day, if you're just doing cardio or you're just doing stretching, a rest day, or arms, that's a day where you can go with a lower carb kind of day. Now, you can also work this throughout the week where the 1 or 2 days where you have the most intense or the highest volume workout, those would be the days to have the most carbs. The days where you're dealing with lower volume, lower work output, rest days, those are days where you can look at being on the lower end of the carb spectrum. Weight training movements to train agility. So all agility really is at the end of the day is the change of direction. What you see on YouTube and Instagram and social media these days is a lot of, to put it nicely, a lot of crap when it comes to agility training. You see people where they're trying to do weighted cuts in the sport. So weight training movements to train agility, the best things you can basically do is just, for the most part, get strong and explosive in the weight room. I'm not talking about trying to do weighted, where you're putting a weight vest on and trying to go and do route running like in football, or you're trying to do weighted ball dribbling for soccer. Weight training movements for agility, you're still looking at your big basic movements, but you're looking at the ballistic side of things. So you're more so going to look at clean and jerks, snatches, but also getting into plyometrics and doing angular plyometrics like your speed skaters, which is where you're kind of jumping from one leg to the other, but you're going to be pushing out laterally as far as you basically can and landing on one leg. You can also do single leg hops in the same kind, where you're just staying on the same foot and going back and forth, like left and right, front and back, going around in circles. But for the most part, weight training, when it comes to agility, there's not really anything you can do specifically for agility in the weight room. You see a lot of stuff where people are trying to mimic the movement of the sport in the weight room. That's just asking for injury, and from what I've seen, a lot of athletes end up injured or heightening the risk for injury once they go and play the sport because they've caused some micro damage to the soft tissue structures by doing something silly. So hypertrophy plateau booster, German volume training. We'll just leave it at that. 10 sets of 10, pick 1 or 2 big prime movers like a back squat, snatch grip deadlift, incline press, chin up. Go 10 sets of 10. But let's throw in a little twist with this. Instead of doing it with 60%, do it with a true 12 RM instead of what most people end up with, which is about a 15 or to even a 20 RM. Go with a true 12 rep max, and you don't rack until you hit all 10 reps on every set. And then you go up in weight. Another thing to think about doing, breathing squats. So this is where you do either 2 or even, sorry, I'll back that up. A breathing squat set typically is a set of 20 with your 10 to 12 rep max. But you don't rack the bar until you've gotten to 20 reps. So in between each rep, you can take a couple of breaths, do the next rep, and go. This is especially big when it comes to squats and deadlifts. It can also be used for bench press. The issue with bench press is the triceps end up kind of dying out. But it is still possible to do. For leg hypertrophy especially, go with a modified breathing squat method or a time set where you're doing as many reps as you can in 2 minutes, or even if you really want to be a sadomasochist and really torture yourself, try to aim for 5 minutes. It was rumored that Tom Platz actually would do a set of 5-minute squats with up to 500 pounds, and he would not rack the bar until the timer would go off. So that's one way to do it. So German volume training, 10 by 10. You could do it the classic way, which for those of you seeing this on YouTube, I'll link up here the video to my explanation of German volume training. Or you could also do it with that little bit of a twist where you're kind of combining German volume training and the breathing method, where you're taking your 12 rep max and you're going to do it until you do 10 sets of 10 with that weight before you go up. The vast majority of people will definitely not make it past the 4th or 5th set being able to get 10 reps like this. This is going to take someone who is willing to go to that pain cave, willing to physically and even mentally torture themselves in a workout to really get the most out of it. Those of you who are natural, you're going to have to take a lot more rest between exposures to doing it this way. Those who are on enhancements, you're going to be able to get back at it a lot sooner. So just a couple quick, easy hypertrophy plateau boosters. German volume training, GVT with the twist, getting into the breathing squat and breathing set methods. Legs have shrunk to toothpicks. What are your favorite high rep leg schemes? All right, so for this question, go watch what I just said for hypertrophy plateau boosters. If you've been off from the gym for a long time, what you can do is you could also do something where you focus strictly on take half the workout and all you do is quads, and you try to boost the amount of volume that you can do between leg workouts and the total tonnage. Try to add 10% for a couple of exposures to that. So for, say, the first 30 minutes, all you do is quads. You take minimal rest and you just pound out quads. And then you go and you do hamstrings for the other half of the workout, and you just pound those out. Save calves for a whole separate workout altogether with. It could be later in the day, it could be another day on its own. But these are ways that you can get the leg strength and size back very quickly. Other than that, go watch the previous part where I talked about plateau boosters and the German volume training, breathing squat method, 2 minutes and 5-minute sets of back squat, and also kind of combining them in a way where you're taking your 12 rep max on an exercise. In this case, it would be squats or like a snatch grip deadlift or a deadlift or a deficit deadlift, and you're going to be using that weight until you can get 10 sets of 10 with it. Now, you are going to have to take more rest than what you typically would in German volume training, which is typically about 60 to 90 seconds between sets. In this case, you're going to need to take 2.5 minute rest. The first couple of sets, you might be fine. It's when you start to get to sets 5 and on where the cumulative fatigue really starts to whoop your ass. All right, thank you for watching right to the end of this video. If you'd like to see more content by me, click the subscribe button here, and for another YouTube suggested video by me, click here. And if you liked what you saw today, don't forget, click the little like button below. Until next time, Coach Tony, Risling Podium Performance.